Hello. Hello. Oh my gosh. Hi. Hi. Oh no, I updated and it's still sideways. Who's there? Say who you are. I'd love to know who you guys are. I'm Alexis. Nice to see you. Alexis from AlexisPierce.com. And you'll have to pardon my total exhaustion. We just had an open house at our new yoga studio. It was awesome from 9 to 2, and we had like class after class after class, like half that familiar with me. I do a bunch of really cool things. I help people with 3 big things. Figure out what you want, plan how to be a person capable of living it. So that's the embodiment. Like it doesn't help to know what you want if you to the point of embodying it. So that's where the yoga comes in. Yoga, I teach breathing, I teach mindfulness and meditation. Tantra, specifically the sacred sexual practices of Tantra for women in specific, because it's so good. And I also do on strategy to get clear on your life purpose. So I focus on like big picture life purpose stuff, and then how do you actually, from a strategic point of view, and then embody the person that. So what questions do you have? Let me see who's here. I thought it's updated, but it's not updating. Oh, hey, Rodrigo. Awesome, just doing a Q&A. So I was telling everybody that house at the yoga studio we just opened, and it was like 20 people per class. It was cool. So much fun. Just amazing, amazing time. And now, can I take a bath? Can I take a bath and rest? So just type it in the chat box and we will chat. But the big things going on for me right now, I'm excited about the Tantra course that I'm launching. Planning on one for men, especially male entrepreneurs, but we're have this one for female entrepreneurs. It starts on Wednesday. Been getting people emailing and coming and starting, and it's just really cool. Get excited about something that's new and they like see and you know that it's within reach because you're actually going to learn to do it. I feel that way. I just signed on with a new life coach as well, or a business coach. And you know, when you can just see what you're going to be, and you're like, yes, this is going to happen. So people coming into the tantra and then me doing the thing with the life coach. But yeah, what questions do you have? What questions about what's going on for you? What's going on for strategy? What's energy-wise? Feminine energy, those things show up as like, it can show up as anxiety, depression. It can show up as like not being able to sleep, all sorts of things. So if there's anything going on for you, let me know. Yay! Or not. I can't see it. I don't know why Periscope doesn't turn. I think a lot of people are watching on the web. That's why. Evan Rodrigo, you're the only one here. So do you want to talk emailed me about? Can you remind me of your question? And we'll dig into it. Some question. I just don't have it up in front of me since I'm on the phone for this. But you had sent me a really cool question about Tantra and energy work. Amazing. So I'll give you, hey, for people who are joining, we're just having a live Q&A, and I was just saying that talk about, so I love to talk about visioning what you want, and a yoga teacher, so envision planning how to get it and embodying the person that you get, because that's the key. That's the 3 pieces, right? You have to have all 3 to succeed. So the being piece, the becoming piece is really huge. So if you feel free to type them in. Talking about Rodrigo, you had a really cool question yesterday. Maybe I should pull up my computer and look at it. About Tantra in specific. So hello people. I can't see your names for some reason, but go ahead and, oh, it's because they're on the web. Wherever you are, feel free to email me your question. Check them now, but I could always do a scope on them later. Oh, what should we talk about? We could talk about energy. Let's talk about energy. Okay, it's the weekend, right? Weekends are usually like, that's the masculine, like, let's party, let's be social and all of that, like that really like boom explosion of energy. Softening at some point during the weekend, we were like, oh, do we just stay in? Can I just be here on this, like that feminine restoring energy? So it's really great in your life on that big scale, but we could on a really like micro scale as well. So thinking about like each breath, breathe in, taking in, receiving, opening, receptive to, and then pushing out. So the way the breath works is really cool. And if you ever feel stressed, which I know all, but the breath is a really key piece of stress. So things that the nervous system does, because the body's so intricately amazing. The system responds to anything that has happening in the system. So if the breath slightly, the body's going to respond. The breath is being correct. So all of a sudden held my breath, which I don't know about you, but time. In fact, when you put your hands on a keyboard, natural reaction, we go, and you tighten your shoulders. So we may know that we're sitting in an email, but what your body says is, because you just held your breath, and that's like that. So I have to go into full sense mode. So it's one of the reasons we can be so burnt out and exhaust computer, because we're stressing our nervous system. So your breath is a really key. You really want to pay attention to what's your breath doing at all. So I actually am a hyperventilator, and you think like hyperventilating's in the bag, that sort of thing, but actually all it really means is that I'm taking in a lot more than I'm putting out. So I'm breathing a lot faster. I also hold my breath. So I breathe in, and then you notice it because I go all the time. So paying attention to your breath is a really key to notice the stress that's happening in you. Wait, I started this conversation because I wanted to teach you something. What was it? I'll get that there. But yeah, the breath. So if at any point you feel like I'm getting really tense, I don't know what's happening, or you start to get your mind's running away with itself and all of that, that's reaction to whatever's happening in your nervous system. So if you learn how to nervous system, then you get back in control of things, and then you have more choice. So you can choose, my thoughts have to go along that path, or can I turn thoughts even though my body is stimulated in this way? So that's why yoga actually is such a powerful practice and meditative practice, because you get to see that the body, the mind, and the emotions are actually like, they're just doing their, like they're responding to everything coming at us, and they're on this up and down. And I don't know about where you are, but like stormy weather, and it was beautiful the other day. Like emotions in your mind and your body are just, they fluctuate. We have pains, we have aches. Some days we're super happy, like that stuff. And the beauty of getting deep into meditation or doing any practice really that helps you with that is that you can see like, oh, that's not me. I don't have the ride. That is not me. It's that I'm going on, but I'm this sort of witness. I'm this eternal stillness beyond that. And then that stillness is always available to you. So paying attention to the breath is a great way to do that. Every meditative tradition, so whether they are Buddhist meditation, any other type of meditation, they really breath as the thing to constantly come back to, because it's right there, right? It's moving in, it's moving out. It's there for you every roughly 7 seconds that most of us breathe at. So it's the time, and you can just continually come back to. I really like to have a physical anchor for my breath where I feel it moving the most easily. Sometimes for me that's on my nostrils. You can just feel the cold air coming in, and sometimes, and I'll notice, like I'll be sitting at the computer. If you're a woman, you might cross your legs, which is horrible for our posture, right? Because your belly's tight and everything's tight, and when your belly's tight and your legs actually breathe, the diaphragm can't actually move down into the belly. Everything gets tight because your body's like, I can't get enough. And then it's just this chain reaction. And that like, where can I pay attention to the breath coming in and out? Well, that's what I was going to tell you. I was going to tell you this super cool thing. But the way the body actually works, how do we get on this topic? But if you have any questions for me, let me know anything. But I'm a strategist by trade. I used to work for the U.S. government, and I also teach yoga. So I love anything related to what's your big vision, get it, and how can you embody the person you need. And I'm launching a course. We're starting on Tantra for women, especially women who want run businesses, harness your sexual energy to bring that sort of like creative power and force into, you can channel it towards any type of creativity. It doesn't have to be sexual expression of it, though it is your sexual energy. Body Breathes is really cool. Oh, and if you're interested in that course, alexispearce.com, work with me, Tantra for Women. We start on Wednesday. Anyway, the way the body breathes is really cool. You'd think like your lungs are doing they're not. Your lungs are, they're doing they're taking in the breath and they're exchanging it from a gas to a liquid to be carried by your, what they're not doing is initiating the breath. What's initiating the breath is actually your diaphragm, which is this like very thin sheath that looks like an umbrella between your chest and your abdomen. So there's this right around like your rib cage, little curved muscle, and as it gets pulled down, it adds into the lungs, and as it pushes up, it pushes the air out of the lungs. So actually that one initiates your breathing, which means that if you're wearing really tight pants or your legs are crossed, you have a really tight abdomen, and you're not allowing anything to, your belly's not actually pushing out of the way and allowing it to fully come down, which means your lungs can't take as much air. We always think like, oh, we have to open our chest to breathe. Yeah, that's great. But what we really need to do is soften our belly and have a mobile core. Of course, but strength is mobile. Muscles extend and contract, right? So we want them to expand to accept the diaphragm moving down into the belly, to the lungs, and then the belly pushes, the diaphragm pushes up, pushes everything. The organs go back in place. The body's amazing, by the way. The rhythmic movement of the diaphragm massages the organs out and pushed in, which helps all of our inner organs work. It helps our things. So if you sit a lot and you're condensed in then you may not have the best digestion. It leads to our beautiful culture of being overweight. Anyway, what question? Type it in the chat. Let me know. I think a lot of you are, so you can always email me questions as well. In a different scope or via email. I'm alexis.com. But if you here live, I don't think I actually anybody on their phones to be able to chat. So we've been talking about energy in the breath, so you really want to pay attention to the breath. Pay attention to what it's doing. Close that allow your belly to move, so you can open the chest. I'll talk a little bit about sexual energy and why not. That's what I want to talk about, because I'm just about to launch. I just keep clicking on the button to see if anybody's here on their phone's question. So energy is amazing, right? Like, I'm sure you've all felt it before. It's kind of all-consuming thoughts. Like, it's a really powerful energy. But the beauty of it is it's your creative energy. It's related to your lower, so it's created, actually the sacral chakra, which is about that creative aspect and what you can bring. And part of that is childbearing, like you can the world, but part of it's also just creative inspiration and the ability to keep. Hey, let me know if you have a question. A bunch of people are online, but if Lynette, feel free to type in a question. Which is energy. We talked about so far, and we were just sexual energy. So one of the really cool things about sexual energy, it can transmute, it can change form. Oh, this phone is made of energy. I'm made of energy. So, with it is when you learn to build up your sexual energy, when you learn to expand it and move it through the body, you can move it towards whatever is energy. So if you set your intention and powerful control over your own sexual energy, you can really transmute it to be energy that's your finances, or energy that's going towards building better, that's going towards your business, which is why within my coaching practice, I really emphasize that learn this practice. They need to learn how to handle their energy, because we do so much work on ourselves to strategy, to be better at business tools, about all these computer things. Like, we do amazing stuff with all of that. And then we do all this, and we clear the clutter in our homes, and we do all of this ourselves. But then we don't learn how to navigate our own. So one of the really cool things about Tantra, practices of Tantra, is that they teach you how to energy. That's the whole point, and how to so that you can use it in any way. Because of course all yogis are about enlightenment, so they're not going deep into these sexual practices because they're like, what's that? No, they're going deep into it to explore, like, what really mean, and how can I use this in another to be even better and even more. So that's really it affects your whole life. So it's great for business, it's great for relationships, it's how you feel about yourself. Like, it's just amazing. What else can we talk about? Lynette, do you have any questions about anything, strategy or energy or Tantra? We are just doing a Q&A here, having some fun. Yeah, let me know what questions. Just type them in. I like to talk about sorts of things. And of course, if you are watching on the web and you can't type a question in the box, just email me, Alexis at Alexa. Check it later, and we'll go from there. If you have any questions. So, general over here are the 3 big pieces you need to do in business. And I say need to because really, like, we're here, right? Like, we have a goal and we want to achieve it. So first piece is to figure out what it is that you want. So get clear on your vision. And for means I want a mansion in Malibu. Like, it doesn't have vision. I mean, big vision. How do you want to, how do you want to feel in the world? That's much. Then you leave a bit of space for creative connections and inspiration, and for coincidence, and for things you could imagine. Because we're probably going to sell ourselves short in our imagination, or we're going to get how something has to happen, and it would work out way better if we just let it go. So I like to have people focus on how and what do they mean about your life. So all of us are probably one particular theme. So that theme for you, confidence versus insecurity, or versus connection, or separation, or some theme like that can be a. So figure out what your theme is. What are you working on? How do you want to feel in your life? And then once you know your general view of what you want, what is my vision? What am I here to achieve? I mean, it has to be a big thing, like, oh, I'm here to, it could be a small thing. It could be, I'm here to secure, for sure. What do you mean by that? Like insecurity versus security. Yeah. Yeah. So you don't have to have have to be this huge life-changing, world-changing thing. It's okay to want to experience love, or help, people feel more confident. Like, that's a great goal. Then we get more clear on it, more and more clear, feeling that way. Yeah, that's big. So everybody has a different theme. And so that's what I've noticed doing life purpose work. Everybody's theme is slightly different. So be about feeling enough versus adequate, which is really close to feeling confident and secure, but it has a really different meaning for me. Those words for me. So even though your theme about insecurity and confidence are the things that you explore, and maybe on really days, or maybe your work is about helping people confident, you might struggle a lot with insecurity. For me, I help people with their enough, and knowing that they have all of the pieces already in them, or putting them all together and pulling them out of them, really align with what they're here to do and take action. But that also I struggle with feeling like I'm not enough, because that's how the people I can help feel. And like you have to be a coach, or you have to be somebody who's in a service. I mean that you're helping show up in the world, and the issues that you're dealing with are what you can. So I could be working on, I could be working on like helping people learn sales strategies and still that they're enough. Like, because that could be an underlying that I approach my work. So I'm not talking about the topic of your work if you're thinking about, you're talking about the theme that encapsulates your life and the thing that you're exploring while you're here. So even though it may be similar to somebody else, unique one for you, the way that at least that it impacts you is quite unique. And the way you want to bring it into life can be unique. So that's where we get into how to live it. So first you figure out your vision that you're working on, how you want to feel, like how do you actually want to feel, and focus on things. And then we figure out, okay, it's a plan. So we know how we want to feel. We're here to talk about how are we actually going to bring that into life. And so a lot of people, this is where they got, why you need strategists like me, is a lot of people in military terms, they go from strategic level plan to tactical level planning. And tactics are, I'm going to start a mail list. Well, I'm going to start a mailing list, or I'm going to write a book. Great. Like, that's an action that's specific. It is not connected to anything else except for something that you made. So one of the things we really need to be careful about when we're creating lives is that the actions that we take actually align with where we want. So you come up with, okay, I know what I want to feel, I know what I want to world, and then you come up with how different ways that you can bring that into hobbies. Some of those may be through how you live in the world. Hey, hi, thanks for joining. So if you have any questions, just type them in the box. Doing a little chat here. But yeah, any questions, type it in the box. So yeah, then we figure out goals within those different areas of what you want to achieve, and then from those goals, we then break it down to tasks. And some are going to be personal, right? So if I have a goal to help people feel like I translate that into a business where I work on strategic planning, where I show them how to have the components to achieve their dreams, then, okay, great, I'm accomplishing that through that. But then I also have my own goals over here of embody enoughness. I need to learn how to embody types of things, whatever your theme is. And that's what piece is the big piece. So first we had plan, create your vision, plan how to get it. And then the third piece, become the person capable of living it. This is really huge. So becoming it. So embodiment piece. This is where we practice. This is where body comes in. This is where exercising comes in. This is where comes in. This is where the mindset practices come in. This is where journaling or reading or violent communication courses, or my clients and people that I interact with, tantric, the Sacred Sexuals of Tantra course for women, so you learn how to energy. This is where all the stuff comes in, so that you're really focused on actually like getting towards your goals, because you own how you want to be work. So we can't say, oh, I have this great vision to feel content and wonderful and lovely, and then you spend every day practicing feeling completely lacking and angry. It's not going to add up. So we really have to learn and practice how to embody the feelings of how we feel in order to get there. Otherwise, we're just shooting, and our whole plan's going to fall apart, because our plan coming down from that highest level strategy of this is what I envision. If I'm not fulfilling that strategy in all these different business, life, my physical, my body, like those types of things, all of those pieces have to come together to achieve and feel how you want to feel. That's a basic overview of planning right there for you. But if you have to type them in the box, I don't think anybody here is on their phone. So this is Q&A. Everybody's here to Q. I'm just answering blind. So maybe I'll try back a little later Sunday afternoons, cozy. I hope that was helpful. We did a couple things here. We talked about, let me just give you a few tricks if you're still on here to talk. If you notice that you're holding your breath or tense, you're really tense, just take a nice soft exhale and try to lengthen the exhale. So one of the really great is you can follow the length of the exhale. So I like exhales coming straight out from my nose, and I'm just going along the length of it. And then just allow it to happen naturally. On the next exhale, walk with it. Very, very calming practice. It balances the nervous system right into a really calm state. If you find that you're on the spectrum and you feel like you never have enough energy, that practice is more tired. So the anxiety, we lengthen the exhale for anxiety, any type of like, I'm hyperstimulated, I'm tense, I'm stressed, like mind is going 1,000,000 miles an hour, lengthening the exhale. If you're feeling like so sluggish and like, I don't want to I'm totally overwhelmed, what I'm doing, like you have all of those feelings, then you actually want to keep exhale even. Just so when we're giving out energy, because we've already done that, right? We're giving out, so we need to give more to ourselves. So then you just match the exhale. Hey, do you have any questions? Melody, if you have any questions, let me know. Just type in the chat. We were just doing a little bit on breathing. And of course, if anybody here is on the questions, email me and we will I'll talk scope, or we can do it in a private message. Or you found like Alexis Pierce. Pretty easy to find every weekday, so I'm really easy to find. Everywhere all the time. But yeah, Melody, if you have to type in the chat box anything about the Tantra, the sacred sexual practices of Tantra, strategy, strategic planning, feminine energy, let me know. We will give it a go and talk about it. We were just talking about when you would choose different breathing practices, how you're feeling. So if you're super anxious, then you want to exhale, and if you're a little bit sluggish, then you want to keep exhale even, at which point there's a great place where you count. So I like to place one hand on the belly, and I count to 3 or 4 and exhale 3 or 4. And I actually add a little visual into it too. So I imagine my belly's filling up first, upper chest, and I exhale upper chest. It's like a wave, like the water fills you from bottom. And then you exhale top to bottom. And you just use your imagination bottom to top and exhaling top to bottom. And you keep the breath matched. And that's a really, really great practice. Phenomenal for balancing the nervous system and calming you. Really amazing. Anyway, anybody have questions? It's just been AQ. It's just been a big long A session. But I'll talk a little bit more about Tantra because Ingo watches the replay of this. Sounds like a good practice. It's an amazing practice. It's called, some people call it Durga breath. Other people call it breath just because it's really clear. Then we'll call it Durga breath. But yeah, you can also do it in belly and chest, and then chest and belly. But I like to separate the chest because you can fill the mid-lung and right under the collarbones, and it's a really shallow breath, and then you empty from top to bottom. Very, very soothing. It's really soothing. It's the one practice that I think is safe for everybody. I give it to everybody. You can find it on my YouTube. Actually, one of my clients wrote an article for Success.com, the online version of Success magazine, and referenced that. It's such a powerful practice, and it really did amazing things for her energy. So it's awesome. It's an practice. Really simple to do anytime. You can do it seated, you can do it standing. It's great. You can do it laying down. You can do it really anytime. It's a great, and if you're anxious, it's going to help you too because phenomenally balancing breath. So it's really buddy. It's also amazing to learn how to retrain your breath. So hold the belly tight. Like it doesn't matter if you're a woman. Women are supposed to in their bellies to look taller and they're supposed to hold in their bellies because they want to look taller, confident. Like we just have so many about holding our bellies, and is our like vulnerable area. There's no bony structure there, right? So boundaries are because that's open, it's vulnerable, and so a lot of us hold really, really tight. So this is a great practice to learn how to let the belly expand. So we have really like beautiful boundaries that are in our, so because we are in touch with them instead of just, because hardness is not actually strong, it's quite brittle. So we want like the ability to move. We call it a mobile core. So it's an amazing practice to learn how to the breath move in the belly, and it will move too if you soften it. I'd love to know your story and what inspired you to things. So yeah, well, okay, I'll do the quick. So I'll tell you my first career, because these are all work for the government, and how that started is I asked my at school, at church, a unitalist, and I asked my minister, like, what should I do with my life? And she said, stands up every Sunday and she's like, save the whales and save the turtles, save the trees. She's like, don't be that, just choose one thing. And so I went home and I was sitting in the kitchen. I thought, if my daughter walked in right, Mom, what did you do to save the world? What would you say? I turned off a light bulb when I left the room that I like recycle? Like, what am I going to do? What am I doing here? It's for the hearts. So I picked one thing. And for me, it's, gun violence. It's just been a thing for when I was 11 and puffy painting about the Somali war and like, that peace and war stuff. So, okay, well, gun stuff in America, that's like a whole nother issue too. But there are other countries and there are other wars where it might be much easier to look at how can we, the effects of violence by helping regulate guns. I went to school for anthropology, which is people. I love people in every way. That's the undercurrent here. I love people. And then got into security studies, focusing on ethnic conflict, peacekeeping. Started working for a department on small arms and light weapons, destroy a conversation killer with people. What do you do for a living? I destroy light arms and light weapons. What do you do? So that was a lot of fun, and I learned a ton about of weapons, and I was like, no, this is not where I want to be. Yeah, exactly, right? I was like, this doesn't want to work on the people side. Like, I want to work on the conflict side of this. Like, why do people hate? Why is there greed? Why is there the need to take from somebody else and to else. Like that stuff needs me because I just think people are fast. One of those people who, some people really love to read. Don't get me wrong, I love to read. Hey, thanks for joining. I love to read, but I would rather like go out with people. I just think it's amazing. Everybody is just so amazing. Everybody in the whole wide world. I always thought the Pope had a super cool job because he gets to speak all these different languages and meet all these different people, and just I just think it's a cool job. Responsibilities, it might not be as cool, but that part's cool. So then I started moving up through the government and working on things that I would work on. So lots of like the government issues. So how are we going to form our immigration system? Like big. I worked for the Department of Homeland Security at that point. Hey, thanks for joining. We're doing a Q&A, so type them in. Somebody just asked me a little story, so I'll go a little faster. But so we started working on how people, and how people, how we can be more efficient and effective to achieve goals. The big thing. So we have the massive organization, the government, and the government has lots of different departments, right? But sometimes something as a country, we want to actually say like, higher country is going to help do this. How do we actually create that? How do we make, and what we ended up doing was creating this. I got to have a system, this planning system that's vision-based. So this is a country, we're all going to come to the table. We're going to create a vision, how to implement it. And that implementation is not from, okay, we want to build peace and make up a country, to, okay, $1 Like, there's a big jump there. There's a lot of things in the middle there. And so what work that fleshed out that middle section. Something in military terms called operational planning. So next, strategic planning to tactical planning. How do we, that overall vision isn't a goal vision. It's what you would love to create, but there's lots of different pieces there. There's a structure that it talks about the sufficient components. So you have a bunch of components to achieve that vision. If you have one necessary, get rid of them. So they have to be necessary, but they also have to be sufficient. So I'm looking at, I want to achieve doing a headstand practice, something like that, and that's my big vision. I can hold a head in minutes or something. Then my components may be physical strength, daily commitments, alignment, components. But if I threw in there like really great yoga class necessary, I don't need that to hold a headstand for 10 minutes. So that one, but then I also have to make sure that they're sufficient. There is actually going to achieve it. So if I had physical strength and daily commitment, are they going to get me to a goal? Maybe not, or maybe not as I want in the alignment piece and some knowledge about my body in order to have a sufficient amount of categories to achieve my. So then you trickle it down to goal, and then you trickle it down to actions. Maybe I need to do strength building punches or something. Then you can tip it down. So in the government, we built this amazing planning, and I worked for the Department of Homeland and did a lot of really amazing things. It turned out, oh, I just found a pin right by my foot. That's painful. And then I moved into the Office of Strategic Plans and did strategic planning for the Department of Homeland Security itself and central government. But considering all the things, it was pretty massive. So I loved everything about it. I absolutely loved every minute of work. Turns out that I achieved entire life purpose. I'm probably one of the very few people you can say this. I achieved my entire life goal when I was 28. I was like, oh, now what? So I realized that yes, I've always wanted to help people find that internal sense, or that sense of peace that comes, right? Like, but thank goodness for that minister. I wanted, and I just achieved it. And people said, even like, how'd you get this job? And how'd you do this? And how'd you do this? I was like, I don't know. There wasn't a lot of choice. And in fact, the job I had when I started in the offices, like, they weren't there. The Department of Homeland Security wasn't there. So things just happen when you're really fit. And I never planned it going forward, but it worked out perfectly looking back. So yeah, you just, you figure out what you want. You get that vision. Just everything works towards that vision. It's amazing. Everything I want. And then I realized, how could I go to Afghanistan? That was one of the possible next steps. What do I do now that I've achieved my life goal? Afghanistan and continue working. Do I go to the Southwest border working? Do I work on a different set of issues? I don't know, like national response. What do I do now that I have this? And what I realized, I didn't want to talk about helping other people more when I couldn't find it in myself. That I'd go home depressed or anxious or all of those things. Like, wow, there's some peace first. And I just had this big realization I could do in the world was this right. And if I got me, then I could shine a little bit brighter. If people were interested, then they could. So that's a big transition. So I'm still in the same thematic area. Notice I'm still in the same thematic area of accurate enough, but I've moved from external to, but I love still the pieces of efficiency so that we can be more strategic about it. Yeah, exactly. You got to start with, really felt it. I really felt it. And I realized that, pursuing weren't actually part of my, sure, I just hadn't considered them before. So I thought like, I had the American couldn't be fired from easily because government jobs after a while. And I had a house, which was awesome. These amazing things. And I was like, oh, I don't actually want any of that. I go. So I sold my house, which allowed me to quit my job. And I moved to New York and a half, a little bit longer, and moved for a bit of that. And did a lot of healing, easing, and did a lot of introspection, and started writing a lot more. And I wrote on confidence. It was awesome. I lived on a mountain for about 7 months, and then I moved to Auckland a bit. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah, best thing ever, because then I could take some time off and travel. So yeah, so I got rid of all the stuff that I didn't value, and I was like, let me go value, and made amazing friends, just incredible people. Met an yoga teacher who really transformed my life. In that period also I started while I was with the government, and then I trained as a birth doula, and then did a lot more training. So in 500-hour training for yoga, and then in addition to the hours of really deep therapy for healing the body and releasing the nervous system. So many of us, and all of us, are like all the time. so that was really key for me. And then to come home, or come back to the States. At least I didn't go to the States. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So people are like, oh, you're a yoga teacher, you must be in shape. And I was like, I teach people how to lay on elegantly, basically. Like, I'm on the releasing side. We've got enough stress. I think getting your energy pumping is really great through meditation and other forms of work. A bunch of tough classes today, and I loved it. But I specialize in teaching people major injuries or just need to calm down, and I don't mean like emotional challenges in a bad way. I mean like anxious or the depressed. So all of us, basically. So then I did a bunch of it and just fell in love with the community in New Zealand and the yoga community that I was with, but decided to move back to the States and really launch my business. Focus on, because I've been doing business planning in New Zealand, which I just loved. I love the small business piece, but that really showed me that really, everybody click on Jen Terrell's thing. She's awesome. So that really showed me that the strategic work that we'd used in the government, I could use that for small businesses, for individuals. So I did this period of testing for about a year in New Zealand, and then wrote that book for teens that had the same concepts in it. It was great. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go home and do this. So I got back on building a business, and yay, Jen Terrell's amazing. So then I came back and started working on strategy and help people with their strategy. But thank you for asking. That's worry. But then I really realized, like, putting it all together, I'm like, what thing have to do with this strategy thing, have to do with this, and I realized there's the vision, know what you want, how to get it, and the person capable of living it, because that piece. And all of us at some point struggle with one or all of those. So the clarity on what you want, and then the structure, that's energy, right? The structure to plan, how are we going to implement this? How are we going to make this happen? And of course, that's where so many people trip themselves into tactics. And there's a lot of steps in between there for insufficient components. And then alignment piece, and that's really, really huge. Like, how do I hold this feeling of my vision, and that's where all the yoga stuff comes in, and the energy stuff. So, cool. Anybody have any other questions? It'd be awesome to hear any questions from you guys. So we're talking about Q&A things. We've gone all over. We've done a little bit of strategy and a lot of breathing and meditation and tantra. But if anybody has any questions about that or anything else. I was just saying, oh, hey, if you have any questions, Brittany, feel free to put one right in there, put it in the chat box. Some people open house for a yoga studio. We just opened like 9 to 2 p.m. today of yoga classes, which is amazing. Time for a cup of tea and a Periscope, and we'll just hang out and be chill. Oh, yay. Oh, good. I'm so glad you know each other. Hello. Hey, Brittany, any questions? Let me know. We're going over some breathing practices before to calm anxiety. Yeah. But Rodrigo, who jumped off of this, he was on and off of it. He was question yesterday via Facebook about he was like, how do I get started with Tom? At the very end of a Periscope, and I was like, we just talk about it later. So let me answer questions so you can watch it in the replay. But it's a big subject, right? Like, people are like, wait, what's Tantra? Like, about sex swings and all that stuff. Hey, if you have a question, just type it in the chat box. Total time, so we'll get to it. So Rodrigo asked me, how do I get started? Is this thing called Tantra? So Tantra's it's also it says there's unity in the world. Everything is one. Experience it through duality. So good and bad, masculine, feminine. reality through duality, know on an intellectual level or a soul-based level that everything's one. We just don't experience it that way. And so teaches that you can just go out and play around, right? You can go and try things. So some things you're going to feel bad about, some things you're going to love things, and you're going to hate some things, like, and all of that thing, and teach it. Oh, thanks. Oh, thank you for appreciate it. Sorry, I updated, but it still hasn't commented. So thanks for being here. So basically duality and experience. So all of the yoga Western world is a tantric version of yoga because practice, right? We get out there and we play around and we move and we do poses, like that's experiential. For joining, if you have a question, type it into the chat box about anything, strategy or yoga or any of that. The wall color, I don't know. Any questions? Any type of yoga you have in the West is lineage of yoga because it's about exploration, but the sacred sexual practices of yoga are the specific teachings about your energy. Oh, thanks for the heart. Oh, good, because we're talking about heart stuff, right? Tantra. So what the sacred sexual practice, these really specific breathing and meditations to start to tap into your sexual energy. A little bit about this in the beginning, but if you're just joining us, your sexual energy is your creative. So that's awesome because it can life. But it can also create art. It can create inspiration, excitement. It can create any number of things because it's your creative energy. So we want to tap into your creative energy, your sexual energy, so that we can use that. We can use our life force, really. You think about it as a life-giving, life-to project. It gives life to idea. It gives life to children. Like, it is your life-giving force. We're going to tap into that so that we can bring that to whatever we want. So the goal with the sacred sexual tantra is that you access sexual energy, build it up, you learn how to build it up, and then channel it. And that means channeling it physically as a sensation of energy, but it also channeling it towards an intention. So you can set your intention, your business, or some project that you want to have, and then you move and get it really going and intention with you. So there's a lot of practices that really help you way beyond the bed, the cool things that you can do with tantra there. But you can see now, because totality, that one of the reasons it's so popular and people about it is just the Kama Sutra, or just the sections of it, is that you embody that feminine energy and your partner embodies the energy, and then when you come together you explore how they combine to, which is why they talk about it as a sacred practice, because it's really taking the duality, like exploding it. It's saying, like, get so into your one role. So I'm just feminine, or your partner's just masculine energy. Bring them together and you go, whoa, oneness here. There's a oneness here, and I can see that. I can select it in the partner, and the partner sees it in me, and you start to move the energy between you two, and you realize it's one energy moving between two different polarities. And that's the beautiful, and that's why so many people are by the sacred sexual practices of Tantra. Really cool. Does anybody have any questions about that? Or strategy-wise or Tantra-wise? I love to talk about Tantra. And actually, if you're interested, if you have been to my website lately, excuse me, I have an itch in my eye, alexispearce.com, under Work With Me for Women. It's great if you run a business. And we start Wednesday. So if you're new, go check. I think we're going to start Wednesday. It's a 4-week with a live call, and then really cool. You get 4 weeks of training to help tap sexual energy, and then build it, and then learn how to move. And it's pretty cool results. You're going to notice results pretty fun. Mostly in how other people treat you and how you feel life. So there's a lot of it about living and being centrally engaged with life, and uses, and actually not just relying on the mind, coming back into the body and using senses to experience life. So is there beauty around you? Is around you, like all the feminine energy side of things, to make sure that you're fully in the ways that you need to be. So ecstatic living, which includes then the build-up and the moving of the sexual energy, which is pretty awesome. So cool. Okay, who's got a question? Somebody must have a question. Kim, Brittany. Yes, I love that name. Excuse me. So really cool practice. And like I said, if you do run a business, I don't know how many of you are entrepreneurs or business owners. One of the things I really like about it is that if you're a woman, we can get really dragged down by our businesses. They're constantly calling for us to be, excuse me, they're calling for us to be in our, it's a lot of pushing out and analysis and systems and finances and all of this very masculine. There's no judgment here, both the masculine and the feminine sides. I just have a tickle in my throat. But when we're constantly pushing in that masculine side, we come home or back into our steps or back into just being by ourselves, how to turn that off. And so it can show up as control, it can show up as exhaustion, because we don't know how to move into anything other than inside. And that masculine side is going to drain us because it's putting out and putting out. And the feminine side is about bringing in, leaving. So we really balance those energies so that we can, just tune out a little bit and be a normal, fully, especially if you're in a relationship or partnership, really, really great to be able to come back into energy. But it's also really important so that we don't burn out. We can't just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing to that zone of like the mind with the body without coming back into the feminine energy. The other part is that it's connected to receiving. So we're constantly pushing. And I know for me, I really, really struggle with this in my business. Why aren't I getting any clients? Why aren't I getting this working? Why isn't this working? Let me try harder. Let me try harder. Let me try harder. What I needed to do was try softer and allow myself to receive. I even know little things like somebody will ask me to dinner. I go, oh, well, you don't need to take me to dinner. Just say, that's the feminine energy. Open to it. Receive that abundance. Really like, no, I'm an independent woman and I take care of myself and I pay all my bills and I do this and this and this. Then we do receive. So the course or the Tantra course or what the sacred sexual practices of Tantra get us back in touch with that energy. So and they get us back into the body so that we can let them down a bit. And we can let the mind know you don't have to constantly work for everything to come from outside of you. Push for it because you can actually create inside of you. You can develop this energy. You can force into life, and you can do that within you. You don't need anybody outside of you to help you create that. So, hence, it's a really powerful practice. And if you have, let me know or questions about anything. This is live Q&A with not very many Q&Aing all over the place. Whatever I feel like. But Rodrigo had asked me about how you get started. So I think what to do is to start by paying attention to breath. You can place the breath anywhere in your body. And if you want to go into the sacred sexual, place the awareness in the pelvic floor. Because with the talking about in the beginning, when the body is able to breathe, the pelvic floor will gently expand on the inhale and then draw back inwards and upwards on the exhale. So it'll expand and then draw inwards and upwards on the exhale. And on the inhale, draw inwards and upwards on the exhale. Just keep your awareness with your creative energy, your sexual energy. A great place to start are my legs, because if your legs are crossed, you're closing it down, you're shutting it down. And you're really in the body's ability to breathe, which we talked about in the beginning of the pairs. But, okay, so start crossed. Am I still really tense? Am I really, really tense through the lower belly and the abdomen belly and the pelvic floor? Because that means I'm a little shut down from my sexual energy. I'm too tense to feel it moving. So we want to keep our awareness, keep it right at the tailbone or on the sacrum. Or you can imagine it just pelvic floor itself and just sort of slightly in. So imagine this is your pelvic. And you just imagine it sort of like 1 or 2 inches in, sort of deep within the pelvic bowl itself. A diagram over here. And you can imagine that sort of center spot of the pelvic floor, just slightly in, so the center spot of the bowl itself. And just breathe there. So feel, can the band on the inhale, does it draw back in? Where is it drawing back into? Where does it into? Those types of great place to start with a tantric practice. Oh, hey. So if anybody has any questions, please. Otherwise, this is just going to be one long A with no questions. But yeah, real practice, really amazing for your whole life, just sex. So a lot of people, like if you Google, you're going to get a lot of things. Hey, thanks. I give a good A. But if you have any questions, let me know. One of the things that really frustrates me is I go to Google. My teacher lives in New Zealand. I was just talking about that. My teacher who's taught me all of these practices lives in New Zealand. So, oh, wait, what? How does that one thing work? Of course. And then I'm like, right, Google doesn't have the answer. These practices are taught orally, and they're taught from teacher to student. And you can join online programs for them now. Do others that are really cool, but sort of offered out there. So what you find is when you go on Google, you find, oh, sit across from your and look at each other in the eyes. Or place your hand on your heart and then feel each other breathe. Amazing practices, but what they're missing. They're giving you an experience, but they're not giving you to recreate that experience, or they're not giving you the why experience. So what you're getting is, wow, that was really powerful. What just? And then if it doesn't happen again, you don't know, like, was it just that time? But actually, so the reason the partner practice is powerful is because you're moving energy. You're moving between you, and you're experiencing energy for the first time, and that creates life, and that can that life-giving energy. I feel really energized, or wow, I have all this now, or wow, I'm inspired. The muse, what their muse is like. They don't have sex. They can just be totally invigorated by it. Force. So it doesn't know to actually tap into that. It just gives you practices that allow you. But what I really am like so, what's the word? Like people, how to actually tap into it so that they can use it consciously to what they want. So yes, you can create an amazing sexual experience with your partner, and that's one way of practicing it. But you can also use it, just build that energy and then funnel it towards a creative outlet or towards, whatever you want to do, or just to make your balanced masculine and feminine energy. So you may be in a corporate working in sales or something and still be in that I'm drained, because you're out and you're constantly doing with systems and structure, these amazing things that are masculine energy, but with feminine energy balance. So maybe you just, that reason. So yeah, it's just, I just like hung up on needing to teach people about. It's not out there. It's just not out there. Awesome practices that are really cool to do, tell you why they work, and they're not going to tell you how to keep building better and better and better. I'll just throw this out there, but the goal of learning practices is not that, oh, hey, thanks for joining. A question, just type it in the chat box. Is not to have an amazing sexual experience. The goal is not to, have an awesome business. Discover that there's unity. That's the whole point with Tantra, is that it's black and white, mass dark, and then you discover through the practice moving that energy, that energy's energy. Energy's energy. That means it's all the same energy and it's all connected. So all the yoga practices, but it's just to get to enlightenment, right? So it's about that there's a oneness. So yeah, that's Rodrigo, that answers your question. Gives you a little bit of practice with the pelvic floor, with the expansion and the condensing. Men, so it's just the perineum place. Billy, who's Billy? Thank you. I was like, Billy. Yeah, so it's amazing. So if you're going further with this, I highly recommend it's alexaspierce.com, and under work with me, you'll see Tom, and we start on Wednesday. It's a 4-week course, and you have access for life. So I started it, and then they're like, whoa, this is crazy. And then, maybe they, and then they come back or they take a little break, because it actually really, really powerful stuff when you start to tap into your energy. It's kind of a webinar the other day, and I said this yesterday in my scope, but this woman, we were doing a tantric practice. I asked her to say how beautiful she was, and I was like, and that's how fast because you immediately, tap into your energy, and because energy's connected, because there's the oneness, right? Everybody's connected, and so people are going to relate differently. You're going to just, awesome. You're going to walk through the world, you're going to show up differently. It's really amazing. So I like it, and because you go to Google it and all this stuff about sex, but it's so much more than that. It's about being centrally engaged with life, living, that you're in your body and that you're engaged with how you're, and you're aware of how to show up in the world, and that you have the ability to choose and control that. Make it even better for yourself, so that, you're not yourself, or you're not constantly grasping for things outside of you, because you have that ability to create. Whoa, we're getting into manifesting a little bit there, but really amazing. Cool practice. So jump over there if you're interested, out under alex.com, work with me, Tantra for Women. Does anybody else have a question? Again, this is answers with very few questions. We're talking about cool stuff. So, and if you're just joining us, I'll tell you, so if you play what we've talked about so far, because we've gone all over the place. First, breathing practices. We talked about depression. We talked about the anatomy of breathing, actually works in the body, and then how you can help yourself better almost instantly. So we did some cool things right up front. And then we talked about strategy and how strategy works, and how there's 3 steps to it. You plan what you want, you want the big vision, then you plan how to embody the person capable of living it. So that's where we're talking energy practices and the Tantra come in, is how to actually be the person that you want to be. Yeah, so I'm recapping. So that's what we covered next, and we talked specifically about what Tantra is. You would ask a question about that and how to get started with. So we talked about the yoga practices, the sacred of Tantra, and what sexual energy to use it, and why it applies to so much more than just a sexual context or the bedroom. We covered a massive amount. Talked about how to discover your life purpose in there and what your life purpose looks like, and then some techniques on how to bring that purpose into life. So we really covered the whole gamut of everything that I do and help people with. Anybody have any specific questions about any of that? Whew, I'm going to lose my voice by the end of the day. With yoga classes too. So, all right, I might call it a day, because I have a long day with our yoga open house. But if you have any other questions, me, Alexis at alexaspierce.com. Of course, check it out. It's under work with me at alexaspierce.com in the Tantra. You can find me on Facebook as well, and always ask any other. But let me know. And if you me, we can just do another scope on questions. Oh, thank you for being here. I really love connecting with people. If you were here, talked about my true passions in life, it's people. It's people. I love connecting with people. And if I can make your life better, and I just feel awesome about myself. So win-win. Win-win. So awesome. Thank you guys for being a wonderful Sunday or Monday, depending on the world. And talk to you soon.